Okay, so today we're talking about manifest destiny. And before we get into that, I want to talk about just a reminder about when we study history, one of the things we're trying to do is understand how the people of the time are thinking, not simply say, oh, what they did or what the way they were thinking was right or wrong. Our first step is to try to fully understand and better understand how they were thinking. Then once we've done that, you can go from there. But so today we're going to be talking about manifest destiny. We're going to talk about what that is. And your assignment today after these notes is going to involve looking at this picture of manifest destiny. This is a famous painting called American Progress by John Gast. And you're going to be looking really closely at this painting to try to understand the message of the painting. So let's look at the questions, some of the questions that you should be able to answer when we're done with the notes. So manifest destiny, what is it? That's the first question. What does the West represent for many people? In other words, when people thought of the West at that time and they were thinking whether they would move out there or not, what was the thinking behind it? Why would they do that? And then finally, who was elected president of the United States in 1844? Now, this is a simple question, but this particular president is very closely tied to the idea of manifest destiny. And so when you think of manifest destiny, you should think of this president. When you think of this president, you should think of manifest destiny. So what is manifest destiny? It's the belief that America should own land from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. So if you're the Atlantic over here, the East Coast, that we should expand as a nation all the way to the Pacific. And this is a common idea at this time, but it is not complete. Not everyone, just because it's a common belief, doesn't mean everybody agrees with it. And this idea of manifest destiny is yes that we should go all the way to the Pacific Ocean, but it's kind of two ideas there. One is that it's inevitable. In other words, it's unavoidable almost. Manifest means it's out in the open, you can see it, and destiny, it's bound to happen. And so this idea of manifest destiny is this idea that the US will do this, and that in the process of doing this, we're actually doing something that is a good thing and a benefit to the continent and perhaps even to the people that are there. And so the president that is elected in 1844, James K. Polk, is mostly elected on this idea that he is a supporter of manifest destiny. John Tyler was president before him, and John Tyler is trying to get Texas annexed, and James K. Polk is a big supporter of the annexation of Texas because that's part of him showing that he is a supporter of manifest destiny. Now, James K. Polk is elected, but by a very slim margin. Now, the popular vote was close. I think he had like 49.5% of the vote, and his opponent, Henry Clay, had I think around 48% of the vote, and then I guess the other small percentages go to a few other candidates that nobody really remembers the names of. So James K. Polk does win, and he's popular because of this idea of manifest destiny. But notice, he barely wins the election. And so there are a lot of people that are opposed to manifest destiny at this time. So why do people think, those that are supporting it, what is the idea here? What are they thinking about? What is it that they are really supporting? Well, the way they saw it is the United States was a great nation. The United States had a great government. The democracy gave people a voice, and by expanding the United States, they're expanding that democracy with them. And the United States had relative peace and security. And so by expanding the country, you're expanding that peace and security. But the other thing is, and that's kind of on a bigger scale, those two ideas. But this other idea is kind of almost on an individual level. We see each person kind of thinking, what if I go out west, what am I going to get out of it? And no matter how they answered it, it comes down to really one idea, really. Going out west represents opportunity, opportunity for land, opportunity for gold, opportunity to start a new life. The West represents this opportunity to begin life new, and that if I'm willing to risk death in this trip out west, or if I'm willing to leave everything behind back east and I'm successful, I get out west, I will become prosperous and I'll have this future prosperity. And so the West really represents opportunity. Now, as we talk about manifest destiny, we're going to talk about the acquisition or the gaining of different territories. And so the first territory that we really gain is just during the American Revolution, we gain this territory. We win all of that territory from Great Britain, and it is the United States. And over the course of the next several years and decades, the people that were primarily all along the East Coast began expanding west past the Appalachian Mountains. The first big purchase is the Louisiana Purchase, which we've already talked about, and that is in 1803, done by Thomas Jefferson. And this idea here is that by gaining this territory, we're opening up even more territory for the American farmer. Thomas Jefferson really saw the nation as an agrarian nation, a nation of small farmers owning land all across the country. And so this idea that the Louisiana Territory is acquiring this land and gaining this land is bringing that possibility to more and more people because now we have more land for more people. And then finally, we've got this third territory that we gain, and this is Florida. And this happens as a result of the Adams-Onis Treaty. And Spain does not have a very strong hold on Florida. Spain is having some trouble with some of their other colonies further south in Mexico and on south. And so they have never had a very strong colonial population there in Florida. And so they basically see that the United States is expanding. The United States wants the territory and basically offers to pay $5 million of Spanish debts for Florida. And Spain doesn't have much of a choice given their political situation at the time. And so the Adams-Onis Treaty is the treaty where the United States gains Florida. So that kind of brings us to the end of these notes. The idea here, the United States is destined, or it is inevitable the United States will gain the Western territories, and by doing so, we're benefiting the people that we're benefiting. It is a good thing. We're justified in expanding west. And so you're going to be examining this painting really closely to understand the message of this painting.